Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com for more info. Email me at benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcast because People of Distinction is a nationally and internationally syndicated show because of listeners like you. Our shows are available across all major podcast distributors as well as YouTube. And if you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. We appreciate the support. Continue to like and follow and sit back and strap in because on the line with us today, we have the impressive L.A. Espriux. Now we're going to be discussing her amazing book, Liberty Epic of Shadows, Revised Edition. That's available for purchase through Amazon as well as barnesandnoble.com, all of the regular online book resellers. But if you want to gather everything that Sunny has in store, well, do yourself a favor and head directly to her personal site. And that's Espriux.com. Just to make sure there's no mistakes on the spelling of it, that's ESPRIUX.com. There you're going to find more information on Sunny herself, more information on this fantastic book. But get this is not the only book that Sunny has written. She has 8 books that she has comprised, 7 of which are available currently for purchase. I'm telling you, it's a one-stop shop for everything in store. Once again, that's Espriux.com. And before we go any further, I want to take this opportunity and point out that Sunny was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by one of the best advertising firms in the business and people you already know. I'm talking about CITI of Books. So for my writers out there, listen to me and listen to me well. If you have gone through your process and now you need help moving the book you developed, give yourself the best gift you could possibly give and contact CITI of Books. They're one of the best in the business to do it, and this is exactly what they specialize in. So head on over to cityofbooks.com today. Gather all the ways that their fantastic team is going to help move your creative endeavors. And listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Sunny here on the line. I'm telling you, Sunny is a brilliant storyteller. She has created a captivating historical fiction novel that unravels the intricate dynamics of colonialism, cultural assimilation, and the inner battle of material acquisition. Something we have all experienced. Who amongst us grew up thinking about, listen, when I grow up, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to have a huge house. I'm going to have this car. I'm going to have this jewelry. And at the end of the day, one thing that I know that I've started to notice as I've gotten older, as I've become a father, raising my family, you start to put things into better perspectives. People, don't get me wrong. Having that nice car, having that jewelry, having that nice house, something that makes you feel good. There's something about it that is just like, yeah, I have this. I've earned this. I've worked for it, and it looks good. But at the end of the day, is it needed? At the end of the day, does it really matter when it comes to life? I tell you, whether I'm driving a BMW or I'm driving any car that you want to put in its place that has a global perspective of being lesser than, it's still going to get you from point A to point B, isn't it? It's still going to affect your life in the same way. A lot of times, it's our own perception that puts the value on those things, not the things themselves. I'm telling you, this book is complex. This book is layered. This book is written in a way where it's going to take you down memory lane from a historical standpoint, but it's going to make you have conversations. If the very least, a conversation with yourself. At the very best, conversation with those around you. At the end of the day, sit back and strap in. Sunny is a person of distinction. She embodies that fully. And this is her book. She's going to be able to articulate everything much better than I ever could. So get ready for a compelling journey. Sunny, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today?
Very good. Thank you, Benji.
Absolutely. Listen, it is a true pleasure to have you here with us, Sunny. I think what you've done here with this book is magnificent for so many reasons. And I think one of the biggest things, at least for me and the way I envision it, the conversations that people are going to have because of this, it's going to shift some perceptions, right? It's going to move some mountains, and I think it can impact people from a global perspective in the proper way. So I love the fact that you've written it. I love even more that you're here with us to discuss it. Before we jump into the book, start off by telling our listening audience a little bit more about yourself and your background, please.
It'd be a pleasure. I grew up in the Blue Ridge of South Carolina, and like many childhoods, mine was complex and often divided in my sense of who I was and what I was in context. And without going into a lot of detail, after turning 17, 1 month after turning 17, I ended up joining the United States Marine Corps, and I went to Vietnam, as many in my generations did.
Wow.
And I was meritoriously promoted to Sergeant E5, and I came back decorated. And I would have made the Marine Corps my life had it not been for a spiritual intercession that changed my direction completely. What I'm stating is that, 17, a month after turning 17, I ended up going to Vietnam. And during that period of time, I got meritoriously promoted in country to Sergeant E5, and I came back decorated. And I would have made the United States Marine Corps my future destiny had it not been for a spiritual intercession when I had a born-again experience with the Holy Spirit. This was not just a change of position. This became a change of direction. That direction became the testament by which I wanted to live my life, the testament of Jesus Christ, the Lord that I now knew and did not know before. And the knowledge of this Messiah became the building block. So after this experience, I left the United States Marine Corps with an early discharge of 1 month, and I was accepted at UCLA, and I did my education, received a writing degree in UCLA, and my life ever since has been a discovery of life and a discovery of myself and others in context of life.
Yeah. And
you might say that Liberty After the Shadows is a core element of that journey.
Love that. Love that. Sonny, thank you very much. People, that's a way to start a show. Well, listen, let's go into the book now. Actually, before we go into the book, let's talk about you as a writer, because your background, you're talking about, the military, and then you're talking about this influence and you really becoming aware or meeting God, right? Or meeting this higher force. Well, where does writing fit into all of this, Sonny? What made you want to become a writer?
Well, the first time that I realized that there was something I could express is when I was in the second grade, going through the second grade for the second time, because I failed the second grade the first time. Mm-hmm. I suspect at that time in my life I had dyslexia. I had very great difficulty to read. But that teacher told us to put our heads on our desk, close our eyes, and listen to a Tchaikovsky piece called Swan Lake. Afterwards, she says, now write the images you saw. And I wrote the images that I saw, which was a family of ducks swimming on a peaceful stream and hungry animals stalking the banks. And she was so impressed by it that I won a contest for that story for the school that I was going to at the time. And then I realized I had something to say. And I later also realized that I could read, or at least there was the challenge to read was something I could address, because my cousin gave me a bunch of comic books, and I wanted to know what the pictures were saying. So I began to study the captions until the words began to take shape. So by the time I was 8 or 9, I began to read. Now, this was just the beginning of my goal as and I wouldn't say a goal as a writer, but a goal as one who wanted to know more. And of course, the one thing I didn't know in my life at that time was the Lord. I didn't have any concept of salvation or any concept of God, because I was raised agnostic. And so by the time I did end up going into the Marine Corps, I went as basically one that was ready to be trained to do whatever needed to be done. And I followed that prescription, and I became a person that was just a link in the chain, and I was comfortable with the idea of being part of a collective. But then when I found the Lord through that experience with the Holy Spirit, then for the first time in my life since I was a child, I could think again. I could choose.
Yeah.
I could decide for myself. And so from that point on, I did, and I have ever since chosen for myself. But I'm always keeping that the Lord has put me here for a reason, as He has put all the things in here for a reason. And if I have anything to say, it is the experience that I had at the intersection in my life. If the audience would like to know more about those books, I wrote an autobiography called Reflections in a Paper Moon, which is an autobiography of those early years. And then another book called Search of the Perfect Code, which really dissects the knowledge of the mechanical universe as observed through science and what is the real universe, which we can only equate as spirit, because there are quantum forces involved which emanate from subspace, which are microscopic, which are micro tentacles of energy, which we can't define. I say those tentacles of energy are spirit, and they emanate from that source universe that was before the singularity of the Big Bang and will be at the end of this entropy experience of the universe.
People, listen, Sunny is deep. She could get philosophical here. The book on discussion for today, again, is called Liberty Epic of Shadows, Revised Edition. You're going to want to head on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, check out her personal site, Espriux.com, to gather all of the books that she has in store. And I'm telling you, she's going to keep you thinking. All right. This is some fantastic stuff. Sonny, without further ado, let's jump into your book, Liberty Epic of Shadows. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Okay. The book is an allegorical historical novel. And it is exactly what the title implies. It's an epic. It's an epic book of world history. I use colonialism as a springboard to launch the book. It starts properly with Cortés, the Spanish Conquistador, Cortés going into the city, into a pyramid of the ancient gods, and discovering the gold. And that begins the pillage of Central and South America, which will eventually become what we know as America today. But it's like a thread of meaning that goes back to the meaning of what the gold is, what the conquistadors wanted the gold. Before they came to Central and South America, they wanted the gold. They found the gold. They integrated that gold into their cultures, and ever since that it has flowed like blood into the coffers of the world. And so this book begins there, and then 100 years later, we have a Basque captain named Belasko, who captains a ship named the Libertad, and they will begin a journey from Central and South America to Spain. On the way, they will pick up a demon-possessed shaman in South America and 10 displaced Indians in La Florida port of North America. And eventually, the ship will suffer a shipwreck off the Carolina coast, and these Indians will be transplanted there. And this is the beginning of the seeds that are planted that will become the essence of the story. 140 years later, Adam Pisley, a British deserter, finds himself lost in a swamp. He's rescued by these Indians that live there named Aconee. And he will become the harbinger of their demise. But it's more than just the harbinger. He will become the element of conquest that will change or create what America has become today, which is the elitism, the sense of trying to always be superior. America was not founded on those principles. It was founded on equality, but we've made it into elitist society. And as long as we are thinking elitists, we're not going to be able to really comprehend the greater meaning of what it means to be. And Liberty After the Shadows actually is a book in the later part of the book, and starting with book 3, which will be the 1960s United States and the Vietnam conflict and background happening. And this book will be the reference by which we can become better than we are.
Sonny, I love what you're talking about here. And people, listen, understand, we could sit here and we could talk for hours, okay? This book, like I mentioned in my opening, similar to life, is dynamic. It's layered. It's not so black and white. But that, in and of itself, is, I think, why it's so powerful, right? Because it reflects beautifully, and it needs to have discussions in order to fully flesh it out. And just like life, things aren't so black and white. We need to talk to one another to understand different perceptions, different understandings, what makes individuals tick. I love this book because it has so much value. Sonny, as we start to transition here, I'm curious. Now, the end goal of this question is inspiration, okay? So keep that in mind. I want to know what inspired you to write it, but not only what inspired you to write it, with regards to this specific subject matter, because like I said in my opening, we're dealing with dynamics of colonialism. As you said, that's a springboard, so it's a part of it, but it by no means is the full story. But we have those dynamics. We talk about cultural assimilation. That's a part of it as well. But then also that inner battle of material acquisition. There are so many things that you're analyzing it through a lens of historical pretext. But a lot of the nuances and things found in the book are very reflective of society today. So talk to us about what inspired you to embark upon this journey and write a book as dynamic as this.
I think that the thing that inspired me most, of course, my mother was very instrumental in her patience towards me, trying to make me to read at a time whenever I was not able to read. Mm-hmm. But her love and compassion towards me is the thing that I remarked most. And so from that point, by the time I was old enough to, like I said, I had a very disturbed childhood in terms of trying to come to terms with myself. Mm-hmm. I was just simply not defined as others wished me to be, and I could not even define myself. Yeah. But because of that, it pushed me into a violent direction. And by the time I found myself in a war zone during that period of time, I realized that I was the Walking Dead. Especially after I came back, I was just simply the Walking Dead. I had no sense of value. I had no sense of a desire. There was nothing here that appealed to me at all. If I died in the moment, I wanted to die in battle. I didn't want to die just in my bed. I wanted to be engaged. But then whenever the Holy Spirit intersected my life, what I realized is that I was more than that animal creature that I was raised to be, that interacted with this world that we live in. Mm-hmm. I was made of something more, and I was made by a God that is beyond time and space. I realized that immediately through that experience. And so when I say I was born again, when I came from off that floor of having that revelation that was so dynamic and purged that person that I was, then I became a dynamic witness to something else. Yeah. And since then, I've been trying to find a way to express it. And Liberty After the Shadows, for me, is that core expression of what it means to be dead and to be alive again.
Mm. You know, much like what you just completed saying, in terms of your own evolution and growth within yourself, your book showcases the growth and evolution, if those are the correct terms to use, because I guess an argument can be made that, I don't know, when you look at today's time, have we grown? I don't know. But it at least starts to mirror that transition through time. And follow-up question that I want to go into, how do you believe that your novel contributes to the ongoing dialogue about the long-lasting effects of cultural assimilation and colonial legacies that we see in our society today? How is your novel pushing that dialogue?
Well, if you really objectively look at what colonialism is, the definition of colonialism, it is assimilation on the basic level of a culture and of a dismissing a culture and replacing it with another cultural values. And this has been going on since as far back in history as we can look.
Yeah.
It happened in the Persian Empire. It happened in the Roman Empire. It happened in the Greek Empire. All these empires fell from within. Why did they fall? They fell from material glut. Yeah. So what happened is the fetish or the iconic state became more important than the human condition. So what we have in colonialism is another culture that comes and says, you have what we want, therefore we're going to take it, and we're going to make you civilized like we are, and you would then be part of our society. So that's basically what colonialism is, and we see it today. We see it no matter how far back we look. So this, unfortunately, is a hubris that man has within himself to want to justify those basic carnal needs. Because to have is never to have enough, and to want is never to satisfy. So this is the premise that we are born with. This is the thing that we are from our early stages. We are like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We are on the level at the base, but to aspire to the level at the top, we need to let go not only of ourselves, but also the things that keep us grounded. And once we can let go of those things that ground us, then we can truly be free. I don't want the audience to think that I dismissed the consequence that colonialism had on the new Americas, and the consequence that we find even still happening today. But to understand the source simply gives us perspective, because none of us have our hands clean. Of course, each one of us comes from some background. So it's a matter of I'm superior, you're inferior, I'm better than you. This is the disease that causes the wars, that causes the carnage that we witness even today. It is a sense that our culture, our way of life is the one that should survive, that is superior, that is better. And as long as we have that thought processes, and that's why whenever the Lord Jesus came, he did not seek to have empires here. He did not seek to have a home here. He did not seek to have the wealth of this world, because that Jesus knew who created everything. And in my book, on the last page of the book, we have a case where David is given his last oration to his people before Solomon becomes king. And he says, we're all shadows passing in the shadows, and we have nothing that is ours except that which is given to us by our God. And the simple statement of that means that all things come in season as a provision that we cannot really quantify. But in the end, what we have is a gift. And so as long as we have that gift, I consider my writing as a gift, not to me, but to everyone. And I'm humble to the fact that this flows from me, and that I continuously work to make my work better, because I want clarity to be the objective of these books. Clarity of who we are, what we are, where we come from, and where we go.
People, I'm telling you, I'm going to tell you where you all need to go. It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's Espriux.com. This is something you need to add to your shelf. I wish I could sit here and talk to Sonny for hours. I am engulfed in this conversation. It is riveting. It is enlightening. It is complex and psychological. It is truly a gift. As she stated, her book is a gift. It's a gift you want to add to your shelf. It's a gift you want to get for someone else to add to theirs. It's called Liberty Epic of Shadows, Revised Edition by L.A. Espriux. This book is the precipice of something special, man. I'm telling you, head on over there, pick up copies. While you're at it, look into the other books that she's written as well. Remember, there's 7 available for purchase. You're going to want to pick them all up. But it starts with this one, Liberty Epic of Shadows, Revised Edition. Sonny, this has been a true pleasure, an absolute honor. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Well, thank you, too. And also, I'd like to give special acknowledgement to the artist of this book, because this is an illustrated book. My mother, Jean Vargas, who has passed away, my sister, Cindy Vargas, and my niece, Bonnie Gerges. Thank you again.